Hi everybody, this is Diana Pinto with Learning Matters. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn series. We have our incredible superstar Daniel Puder. Today we're going to be talking about how to unlock the power of EQ to help our children thrive. So Daniel, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy that you had the time to come and add some value to our families out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I have to tell you a little bit about Daniel. He is the founder and superintendent of an incredible organization called My Life, My Power. He now has 3 different schools in Miami-Dade and Broward County. My Life, My Power International Preparatory Academy. It's a mouthful.
I know it is,
I love
right?
it. But I love the work that you do because the work that you do is around emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is one of those keywords at the moment that I think requires for us to unpack a little bit and help parents understand how to help their kids, right? Unlock that power, because once they do, anything is possible. So tell us a little bit about emotional intelligence. What is it for you?
So social emotional intelligence, so there's EQ and EI. And what's interesting is most people, why we label it today as emotional intelligence or EQ, and then we talk about emotional intelligence, emotional quotient is more of the science and the data behind it. And emotional intelligence, EI, is helping people understand their own internal awareness of their emotions. What's crazy is, and we won't go into this on this one, is your emotions are created based upon your beliefs. So that's your belief intelligence, and your beliefs are created from in the womb to about 7 years old. But today, I really want to talk about how we help people understand their emotions, because when you understand your emotions, I look at 2 categories. Either A, you live with your emotions and your circumstances, so your challenges, your ups, your downs, whatever it is, or you live very vision purpose driven. And you don't let your emotions guide you, because we create our emotions from past experiences and our beliefs. And so understanding our emotions and where they come from is sometimes very difficult and sometimes very easy. I had a teacher go through one of we call it our white belt emotional intelligence training, 2-day fun experience. And we've had parents and kids and families go through it. And this one teacher said at one point, she goes, "Oh, our kids can't choose their own choices or emotions." And I looked at her, I go, can they not choose, or do they not know how to choose?
Great question, yeah.
And she looked at me and she goes, and there's about a room of 30 or 40 teachers. She looks at me and she goes, we just have never taught them.
Right.
And so what's interesting is like 0 to 2 years old, we tell our kids to stand up and talk. And then let's say 2 or 3 or 4, we tell them then, okay, go now run and play. Now sit down and start reading a book and taking a test. And by the time they're 22 years old and out of college, or 23 or 24, they are so good at sitting down, being quiet, looking at the back of somebody else's head. There's no interaction like this.
Right.
And so we shut down the creativity of the human a lot of the time, because we put them in such a small box that, we do this like right now. We're sitting at Nova Southeastern University, and I teach here this course that we've created. We brought it over to Nova. And I find that the creativity is so shut down here at Nova, or with some of the students we've had, that we let them free at the end of the day, because they start seeing what's possible for their life, and they start understanding their past experiences and their past emotions usually drive them to the success they've had.
Yeah.
And it drives them to the challenges, or some people call it the failure they had. So the awareness of our emotion, the emotions are what make us human, which is so great.
Yes.
But I find that the emotion, if we're not okay with some emotions like hurt, anger, pain, frustration,
Right.
and we are okay with the happiness, joy, and the positive stuff, as we say, if we just love both sides, then we can start sitting down, and when we get an emotion we don't want, that doesn't serve our vision or purpose, we can stop, we can feel it,
Right.
we can maybe talk about it or assess it, and then we can also look back at, where does that come from? Is it a fear-based emotion? Is it a love-based emotion? So we can go back and we can really diagnose and understand our emotional intelligence, to then be able to choose, I do want this or I don't want this.
I love that. I love that you talk about not only emotional intelligence, but emotional awareness, right? A lot of the trouble that we nowadays have in schools is the inability for children to self-regulate. So as we live in a very performance-driven society, and there's very little time for kids to do a lot of the things that they want, right? And so kids spend 7-8 hours in school, then they have coaching, then they have tutoring, some have sports, extracurricular activities, and by the end of the day, they're exhausted. And now they have to go in and do homework, right? And so we have parents who perhaps don't understand themselves, and so they're not able to understand what that child is going through. And the child is not able to perhaps verbalize what is happening internally. Maybe they just need a break. Maybe they want to play outside for a little bit. Maybe they want some boundaries. So tell the parents, today we wanted to really talk about, what we are doing in terms of emotional intelligence. You said something so powerful for me, and it's something like this. We normally educate people, right? And you mentioned that, and we do that formally, right? Through all of the years of school. This is how you write, and this is how you speak, and this is how you read, and you take a test, and you pass, and you're great. But there's really not that opportunity to bring out that creativity that you're talking about, that a critical thinking aspect of an individual that makes them so unique, right? So tell us a little bit about the difference between educating a child, right? Education versus educe. Tell us about that.
So number one, we don't have homework for our kids at our school because of two reasons. One, which is crazy. It's crazy. So if you want to learn and keep growing at home, you can. But it doesn't mean that homework's going to solve the problem. Like, it's going to really help you get from where you're at to where you want to go in life. It's great steps to add value to it, but it doesn't mean it's going to get you there. So we don't have homework for two reasons. One is I don't want my kids to go home and have to work all night with, let's say, parents that don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then some parents can't afford, tutors and coaches and stuff like that. Like the parents that are probably watch this, they can. And what's great is that I would all day have a tutor and a coach and a team around my kid, right? The second part is I don't want my teachers to have to go home and grade papers and do more of that. And so we've created a platform in a school where 6th through 12th grade, you can be dynamic. You can go to school. You can learn the life skills. We do experiential stuff. We have speakers come in every week.
I love that.
It's all about a human growing a human, not a human taking a test and reading a book and taking a test. So that's what's interesting about the homework side. The side that you asked, educate versus educe. I look at educating somebody, everything that you and your kids are going to learn is on this laptop or on your cell phone.
Right.
Everything you're ever going to learn. There's more information on here than we can ever even imagine a human learning in their life.
Yeah.
So I look at, today it's not about learning information like it was the last couple hundred years.
Correct.
Before we had printing presses, they would transcribe books. And only the rich would have books. And then after they got a printing press, then more books came readily available and people want to learn information.
Right.
Today there's so much information that we can just Google it. What I create, or what we're creating in our schools and what we've been doing for about 9 years around the world, is we take humans and we help them become resourceful.
That's awesome.
And so we can fill them up with a bunch of information, but at the end of the day, then you have more of a, it's just a structure of like learning information. I get my kids to think outside the box. So my kids will hire most of the kids that go to the other schools.
Right.
Because my kids are going to be more resourceful. They're going to understand how, my 6th graders have resumes and LinkedIn accounts.
You hear that?
My 6th graders have the ability to shake somebody's hand and look them in their eye.
Yes.
My 6th graders have the ability to ask questions to speakers that come in that are like profound. Like, how did you start your first company and how did you build your team? Like, it's stuff that 6th graders or
are not.
College students would never even ask because
Right.
they don't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
So with educing, I want to pull out of, instead of fill up, which is the education model, I want to pull out of a few major things like, what is their vision for life? What's their purpose? What kind of mission are they going to go on? Like, what kind of goals and tasks? What are their commitments? What's their team look like in life? Because if they don't commit to themselves, then they're for sure not going to be able to commit to somebody else. They're for sure not going to be able to commit to a team.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. One of the questions I ask kids all the time is, what percent of the time do you do chores for your mother on time without being asked?
Parents comment on that. I love to see percentages.
And so most kids, it's less than 50%.
Wow.
And so my second question after that, and I don't wrong them. What's interesting is a lot of adults say wrong people, like educators say, oh no, you got the wrong answer. Well, they got the right answer for how they got the right answer, but they just didn't get the answer that maybe was correct for the assignment at the time.
Right.
So it's interesting how kids today, they want something, but they just don't know how to get it. So the second question I ask them is, would you hire somebody that only cared about their mother at a 50% commitment level?
Wow, what do they say?
So 99% of people say no, and once in a while there's that kid that goes yes, and I go, why? And he goes, because I would pay them.
Wow.
And then I go into, you're either going to work for profit or you're going to work for purpose.
Right.
And so if I pay your person more, do you think they'll work for me? And they're like, well, yeah. Because they're only there for the money. They're not there for the real impact in other people's lives. So we like to pull out of, and with our university course or our white belts around the country, or white, red, black. So we have a emotional intelligence, belief intelligence, physiological intelligence, which I haven't even gotten into, on how you really create the best version of yourself.
I love that. So I love this because there's just so much to unpack, right? We could have an entire separate session to just unpack some of it. But what I love and what I'm hearing and I love is that, number one, our kids would benefit from learning social skills that are transferable to real life, right?
For sure.
For sure.
All day.
All day. And the other thing is, how do we get our kids to be resourceful? Because not taking a test is not necessarily a resourceful thing, right? Learning how to take a test is a skill on its own. And a lot of the times we don't give our kids the credit that they deserve because they just don't know how to take a test. But if they knew how to, then they would probably score very high. So I love that you're creating this community of schools and environment that really teaches our kids to be humans. And teaches their families. So probably there's a lot of support there too for the families to be able to get their kids to unlock their emotional intelligence and to thrive as a human being. Because thriving for me, it's not just performance or being able to have a 6-figure job at the end of the day, but it's being able to be a happy, fulfilled, purpose-driven individual. And you say that a lot. You're all about vision and purpose. So my question to you is, what do you think are the common mistakes that parents make? Perhaps some of the parents can relate, and how they could potentially shift to be there for their children and help them really unlock this potential.
So I think the number one thing, and actually going into this, I have a story. There was a student at Nova Southeastern University about 2 years ago who finished the class, and we do exit videos with all the students to see what they got out of this class. And the class is called GPS for Life.
Love it.
And this one student said, because of this class, it helped me build a better relationship with my father. And 2 weeks later, he died and burned alive.
Wow.
In a car accident. And what's interesting is I've got to know his father now. And his father loved him so much, he even adopted another kid. He spends time with him. But the one thing his father did was he pushed him too hard. From his standpoint of like, I don't need to be pushed that hard, Dad. Like, I want to do my thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and I've had his father speak probably 10 different classes because I have him come in every semester and speak.
Wow.
It's a crazy class. Whole room is like in tears. It's amazing. And it gives people the perspective of, how do I get our kids to care about the parents when they don't today? Like these kids at Nova have the most amazing opportunity. They're usually a little bit, better well-to-do, they have money, but they don't have a connection with their parents because a lot of times their parents work a lot. So what I recommend to parents is, number one, have the ability to spend time with your kid without the average, national average I've seen is 3 minutes of undivided attention per day with a parent and a kid.
Wow.
So if you're not spending quality time without TV, without cell phones, like, do what your kid loves to do. If he really loves to play baseball, go do it. If he likes to play video games, okay, cool, you can turn on a video game, go do it. But I find that there's so many parents that are like, no, I don't like to do that, so I'm not going to. And so they don't connect with their kids where their kids are at.
Yeah.
The second thing is build a foundational base of not what you do and what your kid does is a meaning to their value, but who they are as a human, which we do like I am statements. So it's super simple. I'm loving, authentic, committed.
I love it.
And we do these I am statements on ways of being, not doing, because we're human beings, not human doings. So if we're not creating a foundation of the humanistic way of showing up, then, and what we do is when a kid doesn't show up in that way, then we go back to that piece of paper that they said they're committed, and we go, awesome, so what are you more committed to? You know, we ask them, we don't actually tell them what to do and what to believe, because at the end of the day, you're going to see kids rebel, do things, party, go outside of other things because they're trying to find themselves because their parents actually never spent the time helping them find themselves. So now they have to either A, go out and drink to feel, or they go out to drink to not feel because they want to numb who they are. So they're going to go try to find themselves at some point. You can either spend time on, parents can either spend time on like coaching on building what you do over a period of time. Because this thing, to build a kid, like parents, I mean, they spend X dollars with you, you know, 150, 200, whatever it is. You know, you probably give some of them discounts if they're lucky. And to, you know, corporate wise, you're probably doing $300, $400, $500 an hour. And so it's interesting on how much money, like my college class at Nova costs $3,000. And we've dropped the dropout or transfer rate from about 30% of freshmen to less than 3%.
Wow.
At Nova.
It's amazing.
And people don't understand that if you as a parent are going to go spend $100,000 on your kid's education or $50,000, why not spend another 10 or 20 while they're growing up to make sure they're the best human and ready for the college education?
Yeah.
Because most of these kids are going to college and they're screwing off and they're not really achieving their outcomes. And then they wonder why, like Jake's sitting over here videotaping us, right? and he just graduated Nova, and his two other roommates, they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs because they didn't build the right relationships.
Right.
They didn't show up in excellence. Like Jake busts his butt. Like something falls on the ground at work, he goes and picks it up. Like there's no like need to like he just gets done. And I do that too. You know, if I walked through a school, one of our schools a couple days ago, and there's something on the ground. Like 3 or 4 people standing around. I just pick it up. And so it's interesting on what we can do as adults to be able to really inspire our kids. But educing something out of them, getting to know and understand where they're coming from and their mindset, and then asking them the right questions to get them to think and then respond. Because when we ask the right questions, like the question of what percent of the time do you do chores for your parents? They have to think, and then they have to recognize, wow, I don't really do it that much. And so they have to start understanding what they're focused on.
Right.
And if they're really going to focus on something that's not going to serve their vision or the family's vision, then there's a hurt or pain blocking that.
Yeah.
So getting to like what you do and getting in there and really understanding those little humans and then the bigger humans.
The little humans and the big humans.
We have the same need. Like
We do.
as a human race, like we just want to enjoy life. Like we want to have fun. We don't want hurt or pain.
Yeah.
We want to have happiness. So it's interesting to see what's possible because I've had amazing coaches like you in my life and to support me.
I love it. Thank you for that. And, you know, it's beautiful because you use a lot of connect to redirect. And I think that our parents could definitely benefit from that. we live in this busy world, and I get it, right? Parents are busy. They want to create the best possible life for their kids, and I see that. But I also see a lot of the pain that these children are experiencing because they don't have someone that is in tune with their needs. And children need someone to come in and educe, right, and bring out. So I love what you're doing at Nova. I love what you're doing at My Life, My Power. I had the opportunity to take the white belt. It is an experience. If you have any questions, I mean, write in the comments, let us know. But this man has created an emotional intelligence experience that I never ever thought possible. And when discussing this topic of how do we unlock emotional intelligence, because it's an intrinsic thing, right? And all of us have the ability to get there, right? Parents are probably thinking, well, is there a booklet that I can buy with a 1, 2, 3 step? And it's a much bigger thing than that. And so I had the opportunity to take the white belt. I took my entire team to your white belt, and it was beautiful to see how people actually work and play together, right? And how we show up as individuals. And one of the things you said a lot was the way that you show up in one circumstance or one scenario is the way you show up in other parts of life. So that's interesting for you as a parent, and also for kids to be able to ponder. I love that you're not afraid to hit kids with tough questions. Like, you get to choose, you get to do whatever you want. What are you committed to? And there is a pyramid that you have that I would love for you to be able to talk to the parents about. And you talk about vision, purpose, mission, team, and commitment. And I think those are really amazing points that parents would definitely benefit from learning more about. Do you want to tell us about that?
So vision we look at as the first one. If you want to go to the bathroom, you got to create a vision. Right? if you're like, oh, I'm just going to go, it's either you go in your pants or you go in the car, or you probably go to the bathroom most of the time, the toilets. Like when I was in India, there's like holes in the ground, right? So I created a vision of the hole in the ground. Thank God the place we stayed had a toilet right next to it. I'm like, whew. So vision is huge, because if we don't know which direction we're going, then we're not going to really get to what we want to create in life. Right. We're not going to know what we want to create in life. Purpose is the engine behind it. It's the why. Like I do what I do because we get to transform lives. We get to transform families and communities. So looking at when we transform a kid that, let's say, is struggling somewhere, and then he goes home and he's not struggling anymore, the family's at more peace. The family grows better. The family then creates a better community. So I look at, and then there's economic development on that. And then now the kid can go live an amazing life because he's on track with what he wants to create. So I think that why really gives people the ability to create something strong and powerful, because they know why they're going where they're going. And then the next three are pretty interesting. It's the mission's super simple, sometimes super hard, easy, but it's always simple. It's the goals and tasks. So we look a lot of time as like, what's the value of what we're doing, and what is the processes of how we're accomplishing it. So if kids don't understand processes, like, okay, so you studied for that test, you got a D, then what, when you got a 3 A's over here, what did you do there that you didn't do over here?
Right.
And so getting them to start figuring out, they're like, oh, I studied the night before. Oh, I studied on this one 3 days before. So maybe the stuff wasn't as fresh. So it's interesting to be able to see the processes and hitting those goals and going back and forth, because everybody's mind and attitude and everything work a little differently. So how do we get that focus? And those three are the easy ones. Then the next two are hard. The commitment side, super challenging, because people's stuff, their emotions, their experiences come up to get them off of their commitment. So their commitment is their vision, mission, purpose. And that's challenging. And based upon your commitment level, like I always ask kids, like when they say the 50%, I do it for my parents, I'm like, awesome. So would you want to put 100% to your wife? Like kid yesterday when I was doing a white belt, I'm like, so would you commit to your wife 100%? And he looks at me and I'm like, 99%? and are you okay with your wife cheating on you 1% of the time?
His face.
And he's like, no. But what's interesting is he the other way around, until it hit a pain point, he didn't really get it, or he didn't want to choose it. And so I think that a lot of us choose off of pain versus onto pleasure.
Gotcha.
So it's after that pain already starts versus just choosing it now and saying, oh, what can I do for my kids at a younger age to be consistent? Like even if it's once a month coaching, right? Like how much would that save heartache and headaches long term? Exactly. So I see it all day long. But the crazy part is parents are like, oh, I'm going to go remodel my house or I'm going to go buy a new car. And I'm like, wow, so you're going to sacrifice a couple $1,000 a year, whatever it is, to impact your kid, which is fine. But will that car really give, like, what's the purpose of having a kid then? Like, if you're not really going to pour into the kid, what's the purpose? So I look at that a lot of time and I wonder, we serve parents that are on both spectrums that are pouring into their kids and that are very challenged. Right. So it's very interesting to be able to see. The last one is team. Your team is you're only going to be able to be surrounded by team members based upon your commitment.
And family is a team. In a way, family is it's probably the biggest team we'll ever have.
I call that a core team.
It's a core team, yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have our neighbors, we have our friends at school, we have our work, we have all this other stuff going on. So a lot of time people don't understand that I recognize in people, like the people I surround myself with, have a commitment to themselves and to their core teams. Yeah. And so I'll take advice or I'll do business deals with people that don't, but at the end of the day, my core people that I really care about, that I really spend time, that I am all about like getting to know and learning from are the people that really care about themselves and people that care about their core team, because that shows me that they're willing to show up. And so I look at, if you're not willing to show up for your core team, then you're probably not willing to show up for yourself a lot of time.
I love that. I love the word showing up. How does someone show up? So for parents out there, for grandparents, for kids watching, ask yourself this question. Perhaps that could be the beginning of something transformational. How do I show up for my family? How do I show up for myself? How do I show up for my classmates, my friends, my league? There's just so many things happening. I do believe that parents want support. And one of the reasons why I decided to go on with this Lunch and Learn is that it's really to offer support to the families, to be able to build this community so that you know that you're not doing it alone. There are topics out there that parents probably have never heard about, right? So it's when they think of vision, purpose, mission, I think a lot of people think of corporations, right? When we Google corporation, we get to see all of that in there, right? But for me at least, I never really saw life until probably my early 30s as, oh wow, I get to have a vision and I have a purpose and now I have to devise a plan for it and I'm committed to this and this is the team that I want to build around me. So I love that you get to do that in your work with My Life, My Power. And I think you're going to get a lot of phone calls about how to do that. But here's how we can offer support. So this is a place where we get to offer support to you as a parent, and you can reach me. But I would really love for you guys to reach out to Daniel if you have any questions. On the 21st and 22nd of September, you have the Emotional Intelligence Training Experience here in Miami. So he travels the world. He's never here. I am super blessed right now to be in the same room with him, being able to interview him for this because he's super, super busy. So the fact that you get to have him in Miami for 2 days in this training, and the price is unbeatable.
Well, it's usually pretty. Corporations, we charge $1,000 a day, so it's interesting. But I think to the public we were doing $297 or something like that. But I was thinking, why don't we do something for a family for like $297 for a family?
Do you hear that? Yes.
But
I love that.
It's small. We're only going to have like 30 or 40 people, so it's super great. But what I like most about what we're doing, definitely for your company, is every single one of your tutors and coaches go through this before they get hired.
Yeah, they have. They have to. It's a requirement.
So it's the same thing with our organization, and other organizations are starting to look at this, saying, "Hold on a second, we can vet employees before we hire them." So I'm looking at the highest level of team members that I want to create in my life, but also our educators, our TAs, our tutors do have the same exact thing.
I love it. I love it. And this is a steal for 2 days for what you're about to experience. His training saved me we did the math, and it was like $250,000 or something like that. So to look at that value and what you can reach as a family, it's unbelievable. So definitely, where can they get the information for the training?
They can go to mylifemypower.org, and if they want, they can send us an email at staff@mylifemypower.org.
Perfect. This is amazing. Thank you for making the time to be here today. I know you're heading to Dallas this week, and then you're going to be off of the map for some time. So thank you for coming and being able to add value to our families out there. So for any of you, this is going to be a place where you can come for support. So write messages, comments, let me know. Diana at learningmattersflorida.com for any questions, or just go to the page and ask whatever you want. We're going to keep going with the Lunch and Learns. I'll be keeping you posted on the next one. But for now, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for having me. You guys have an amazing week. I watched the last Lunch and Learn, and I'm just really excited to get more information into parents' hands. If you guys want more from me, let me know. Love to come on some other time too.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. Have an amazing day, and love on your kids. Listen a little bit. Spend more time. Okay? Until I see you again. Bye.